The night in Mesopotamia was never truly silent. Even under the dim glow of oil lamps, people whispered about unseen presences, spirits that walked the earth, hungry for mischief or vengeance. But what if I told you that the first humans to ever write down their fears also wrote down how to weaponize them? Because buried in the ruins of Sumer and Babylon, archaeologists uncovered something chilling. Curse tablets. Small pieces of clay etched with words of power, not prayers of protection, but instructions to summon forces no mortal could control. Who were these forces? Their names still send unease down the spine. Lamashtu, the demoness said to devour infants and torment pregnant women. And Pazuzu, the winged creature with a snarling face, summoned not to destroy, but paradoxically, to protect. But why would protection require the presence of a demon? Why would a culture so advanced place faith in the very entities they feared? These questions do not end with ancient history, because even today, in parts of the Middle East, whispers of curses remain alive. Amulets, incantations, and the evil eye are not just folklore. They are living fears, carried from Sumer into our modern age. The story of the curse tablets isn't just about clay. It's about control, about revenge, about the very first attempt by humans to command the unseen. And in this episode, we open the tablets. We read their words. And we face the demons the Sumerians left behind. The desert wind whispered over broken stones, carrying with it the weight of millennia. Beneath the sand, beneath crumbling ziggurats and forgotten shrines, something far older than myths had been left behind. Not gold, not weapons, but words. Words pressed into clay. These were not hymns to the gods or records of trade. They were darker, more deliberate. The first written curses in human history. A small tablet, barely the size of a hand, bore lines of cuneiform etched with chilling precision. On it, a name, the target, and beside it, an invocation, calling upon forces no human eye was meant to see. Imagine living in the ancient city of Ur, where the gods loomed large, yet shadows loomed larger. A neighbor offends you. A rival threatens your livelihood. A lover betrays your trust. In today's world, you might shout, argue, or seek justice. But in Sumer, you reached for clay. The cursed tablet was more than vengeance. It was a contract, binding the fate of your enemy to powers beyond the mortal realm. Powers that the Sumerians believed were always watching, always hungry. And hidden between the lines of those ancient inscriptions were names, terrifying names. One belonged to a demoness who stalked the night, Lamashtu, feared as the devourer of children. The other, a twisted figure with wings and claws, Pazuzu, a monster summoned not to destroy, but to shield. It is here, in these tablets, that humanity's relationship with the supernatural shifts, not just fearing demons but attempting to wield them. But what happens when you attempt to control what cannot be controlled? The tablets were not written in secret. They were pressed openly into clay, dried beneath the same sun that baked the city walls. And yet, their purpose was anything but ordinary. Archaeologists unearthed them centuries later, buried beneath temple ruins and abandoned houses. Some were shattered, some intact, their inscriptions still sharp, as if the curses had been waiting, patient and silent, for thousands of years. One tablet read like a plea, "May the gods bind him, may the spirits drag him to the underworld, May his house fall to ruin. Another called upon demons directly, summoning illness, madness, and misfortune upon the chosen victim. The process was as ritualistic as it was unsettling. The tablet would be inscribed with the victim's name, sometimes alongside drawings of bound figures or grotesque images. It was then buried in the earth, under a doorstep, beneath a threshold, or even in the grave of a stranger. The belief was clear. The curse would lie in wait until the victim crossed its path. This was not the work of priests or kings. These were the voices of ordinary people, merchants, farmers, even mothers and fathers. They etched their fury into clay, believing the unseen would hear. But who were these unseen forces? The Sumerians named them not only as gods, but as spirits and demons, beings who could be bribed, coerced, or unleashed. And at the heart of these curses, two figures emerge again and again, Lamashtu and Pazuzu. But their roles were never simple, for in Sumerian belief, even protection carried the shadow of terror. Her name was spoken in whispers, if at all. Lamashtu. To the Sumerians, she was no ordinary demon. She was chaos incarnate, a force that could not be reasoned with. She stalked the nights, slipping into homes, stealing infants from their mothers, and preying on the most vulnerable, pregnant women. Her image appears on amulets: a lion's head, donkey's teeth, long talons. Her body twisted into the shape of something neither fully human nor beast. She was feared not because she could be bargained with, but because she could not. Unlike other spirits, she answered to no god. Not even the mighty Enlil or Enki could restrain her. She was untamed, independent. A nightmare the Sumerians believed walked among them. And yet, when Lamashtu's terror grew unbearable, the Sumerians turned to another presence, a figure no less grotesque, but paradoxically their shield. Pazuzu. He was everything monstrous: a gaping mouth with sharp teeth, a body of scales, talons of a bird, wings of a demon, and the serpentine tail of something that crawled from the underworld. His very form was designed to unsettle, but the Sumerians believed one truth above all: only a demon could drive out a demon. Pazuzu was invoked to keep Lamashtu at bay. His likeness was carved into amulets and statues, hung over cradles, worn as protection, even placed at thresholds to guard the home. Imagine the contradiction: placing a snarling, winged demon above the bed of your newborn, not because you welcomed him, but because you feared what he kept away. It is within these myths that we see the paradox of Sumerian magic. To survive the darkness, they called upon darker things. To fight terror, they embraced terror. But the question lingers: did the Sumerians truly believe they commanded these demons, or did the demons command them? The curse was never just words, it was ritual. A Sumerian would take a piece of wet clay, soft enough to carry their rage. Into it, they pressed the sharp reed stylus, carving the name of their enemy. Sometimes, the inscription was simple, a direct command to the spirits: may his body be struck down, may his house be torn apart. Other times, it was elaborate, filled with lists of calamities to rain upon the victim: disease, famine, betrayal, sleepless nights haunted by terror. But writing the curse was only the beginning. The clay tablet had to be placed where the unseen could find it. Some were buried in the foundations of homes, ensuring the curse seeped into the very ground their victim walked on. Others were lowered into wells, carried by water to the underworld, where the spirits were thought to dwell. And the most sinister? Those hidden in tombs, The dead, restless and boundless, were believed to be the perfect messengers to carry a curse into the realm of shadows. The rituals could involve offerings too, bowls of beer, fragments of bread, even the blood of sacrificed animals. Each gift was meant to draw the attention of spirits, to compel them to act. Imagine the psychology of it. A man betrayed by his brother might not strike him openly, but instead kneel in the dirt, carving his name into clay, believing invisible forces would exact revenge. A woman abandoned by her lover might whisper his name into the tablet before hiding it beneath his doorstep, waiting for illness or despair to find him. And hanging over all of it were the figures of Lamashtu and Pazuzu, invoked as names of terror and names of power. Every curse was an attempt to control destiny, every ritual a gamble with forces that might never be tamed. The question we ask today is not whether these curses worked, but whether the Sumerians believed they did, and if belief itself, whispered into clay, was powerful enough to shape reality. The empires of Sumer fell, Ur crumbled, Babylon burned, Akkad faded into dust. But their fears did not vanish with their cities. They traveled, carried in stories, in rituals, in whispers passed from parent to child. The curse tablets may have been buried, but the belief in unseen harm endured. Across the Middle East, echoes of Sumer still survive. The evil eye, a glance believed to carry ruin, remains feared in villages and cities alike. Blue amulets, shaped like eyes, hang in doorways, cars, even around the necks of infants. Their purpose is not unlike the amulets of Pazuzu, to ward off a force that cannot be reasoned with. In marketplaces from Baghdad to Damascus, charms are still sold against curses, their designs eerily similar to those uncovered in Mesopotamian ruins. In some communities, healers recite prayers or perform rituals to undo a spell, much like priests in Sumer once tried to counteract curses inscribed in clay. Even today, stories surface of businesses ruined after rivals whispered an incantation, of children falling ill after receiving too much praise without protection from the evil eye. For some, these tales are superstition. For others, they are warnings not to take lightly. And so the shadow of Lamashtu and Pazuzu lingers, not in clay, but in memory. Demons that once walked the deserts of Mesopotamia now haunt the imagination of a modern world. The cursed tablets remind us of something profound. That fear is the oldest inheritance. That long before science and medicine, long before logic and law, humanity tried to explain suffering through spirits and tried to fight back with spells. But perhaps the deepest mystery is this. After thousands of years, after the fall of empires and the rise of new faiths, the fear remains. And as long as it does, maybe the curse tablets have never truly stopped working. The desert holds many silences, but some silences feel heavier than others. When archaeologists lift a clay tablet from the sand, they hold more than a fragment of history. They hold a voice, a plea for vengeance, a desperate cry for justice, or perhaps an invocation meant never to be heard again. What is most unsettling is not that the Sumerians believed in demons. It is that they believed demons could be bargained with, that they could be named, summoned, used. In their minds, the line between protection and destruction blurred until there was no difference at all. And so we ask, who truly held the power? The human, scratching desperate words into clay? Or the shadows, patient and watchful, answering when called? Because if fear is written down, if belief is etched into stone, does it ever truly fade? Or does it linger, waiting for someone, thousands of years later, to speak the words aloud once more? The curse tablets remind us that humanity's oldest weapon was not the sword or the spear. It was the spell, the whispered wish for ruin, the hope that unseen hands would strike where human ones could not. And perhaps that is the truest curse of all, not the demons carved in clay, but the fact that even now, in the 21st century, we still fear what the Sumerians feared. We still hang charms. We still whisper prayers. We still wonder if someone's envy, someone's glance, someone's words can undo us. The tablets have been uncovered. Their words are read. But their power? That remains unanswered. The sand buries many things, cities, temples, names, but words pressed into clay, words meant to wound, meant to summon, meant to curse, they endure. When we look at the tablets today, we see more than history. We see the blueprint of fear, the first attempt by humankind to bind the unseen, to reach into shadows and twist them into weapons. And yet, across thousands of years, the same questions linger. Do we command the darkness? Or does the darkness command us? Is a curse simply a superstition? Or is belief itself enough to shape the world around us? The Sumerians are gone. Their gods are forgotten. Their cities lie silent. But the fears they carved remain. They echo in the evil eye, in charms hung in marketplaces, in whispered prayers muttered under the breath of a parent who does not want envy to follow their child. The curse tablets remind us of a truth we cannot escape. Civilizations rise, civilizations fall, but fear never dies. It only changes shape. And somewhere, buried beneath the ruins of Ur, Nippur, and Babylon, clay tablets may still wait. Their inscriptions unbroken, their words unspoken, silent until the day they are read again. Perhaps when that happens, the Sumerian demons will stir once more, or perhaps they never left.